I reject the idea that James Harden is washed because we've all played basketball with guys who are washed. In fact, you're looking at a guy who's washed. And guess what you do when you're washed? You got to try harder. You don't just pout.
Really
you don't say,
hard.
well, I'm washed. I'm not going to take any shots. No, you're washed, so you have to do everything else. That's the whole point. And I know the dressed up way to say this is that James Harden has a chronic accountability problem. It's like, wow, he could look in the mirror and say, you know what? I have an accountability problem. Here's the not dressed up way how to say it. James Harden just pouted on his third consecutive team. He pouted and refused to play with John Wall and DeMarcus in Houston, pouted his way out, stopped playing, didn't put any effort in. He said, I want out. Then against the Kings, when he was with the Nets, he just pouted. It's on tape. He's pouting and not getting the ball. He's not happy. He's not shooting. And then last night, in an elimination game, James Harden pouted. There's no reason not to score any points in the second half.
Can I ask you a question?
Go.
You think he pouted?
Wiles, can I
About me
ask you
being
about
washed?
that?
Yes.
Because no. It's a serious question because I want you to continue. We knew why he pouted in Houston. Thought they couldn't contend, wanted to leave. We knew why he pouted in Brooklyn. He was the Kyrie stuff had gotten to him. He didn't want to be there anymore. Why would he be doing it here? Like, what's the? I understood, even if I didn't justify it, Wild.
Totally get it.
But why would he do it?
So if we have the sound, Hubs, when he was asked about, hey, what's the deal? Why didn't you get in rhythm? We played a little bit of the clip, but he also said, hey, I didn't get the ball. Like, well, are the plays being called for you? And he said no comment. So is he pouting because he wants Doc gone and D'Antoni? I don't know.
We one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's got to mean something to you. It got to mean something. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2 3. 1 2 3. Finish.
The playoffs, man, they are absolutely wild. Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. The NBA playoffs. See, this is why I'm kind of glad that I didn't upload one of my episodes where I was spazzing out on the refs. I'm glad that a cooler head prevailed because, boy, while I do not like how the refereeing and officiating done been going down in this Phoenix-Dallas series, I'm so happy that Dallas had the game they just had for the simple reason I can ignore the refs for a while and give credit to the players. How dope was the day today? Happy about that. I don't want to seem like, you know what? Matter of fact, I'm not going to rush you past that. You'll talk to me. How the fuck was the day? All right? How was it? You vibing? You chilling? You going to be good now. Check me out, though. We got to talk about these NBA playoffs and what went down last night. Good Lord. I didn't know if I wanted to start with Dallas or if I wanted to start with Phoenix. Philly. But I know where I'm starting. I'm starting with Philly because I want to talk about Jimmy motherfucking Buckets, yo. Now, I've been on the train at Jimmy Butler, and it's really been a solo train or a train with not a shit ton of passengers. I'm heavy on the Jimmy Butler as a superstar. And I'm so glad that this was brought up or that this happened because I haven't said it much. Well, I said it in the beginning, but when I usually talk about NBA superstars, I don't usually bring up Jimmy Butler, right? And that's on me. I usually say the known superstars in my head. But I'm glad that this happened because it's much like Chris Paul. Because some people don't think Chris Paul is a superstar. I will argue that Chris Paul is a superstar. I don't think winning a championship is the only thing that can make you a superstar, being the driving force behind a championship win. If you're a guy who makes teams better like Chris Paul has done throughout his career, and he done led a team to a championship, that's a superstar in my opinion. You look at how much better the dudes on Phoenix done got since being with Chris Paul. The dude's a superstar. Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets. Look at what this man done since he became a star in the NBA since leaving Chicago or since his back end years in Chicago. He go to Minnesota, get them to the playoffs. He go to Philly, a shot away from getting them to what, the the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, and now he get to Miami. He get them to a finals, Eastern Conference Finals, back to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, if that's not a superstar, I don't know what is. I think people like to get wrapped up in, oh, Jimmy a bad teammate, even though Jimmy is not a bad teammate. You got losing ass players in the past who didn't like how hard Jimmy drove him, how he pushed him, tried to push him. Real Michael Jordan like in that sense, in my opinion. You know, you got guys like Carl. If people want to know where my disdain, not really disdain, I have no problems with Carl, but the reason I look at Karl Anthony Towns the way I do is because of that situation with Jimmy Butler. All right? Because I know what Jimmy Butler is. And I'm so happy that since he got to Miami, he's with an organization who done embraced what he is, and they done put people around him who embrace what he is. Because Jimmy Butler is a culture changer. He is a leader. I mean, Joel Embiid basically been begging for him back, talking about having him back or going to play with him since he left. And you got to remember, Philly chose Tobias Harris over this man. Which I said at the time when it happened, this might be one of the stupidest fucking moves I've ever seen a team make, as far as choosing one player over another. Because Tobias Harris, no disrespect to Tobias Harris, who is a good player, is nowhere near the player that Jimmy Butler is. Like, nowhere near at that time. He was nowhere near the player that Jimmy Butler was. Jimmy Butler was a legitimate star of the team. He could be the best player on your team. And I think people get wrapped up in scoring so much. Even though Jimmy can score, he averaged 28.7 points throughout this. Jimmy Butler's averaging 28 points throughout the fucking playoffs this year. Jimmy Butler give you bangers every fucking year in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler is one of the players who raises his game every single year he is in the playoffs. But for some reason, he never get the respect he deserves. And I cannot understand that for the life of me, because look at what this man has done over the last couple years. Like, take away your biasness or the unwarranted hate you might got for Jimmy Butler because of how bold he is. And shout out Big Face Coffee. I ain't sponsored by him and I ain't paid by him, but shit, that's Jimmy's company and I love Jimmy, so fuck it. And I don't even drink coffee, but shit, you know, shout out Big Face Coffee. But look at what Jimmy done over the last couple years, and look specifically at what he has done in Miami, bro. Complete culture changer. And I think sometimes this type shit go unnoticed if they ain't winning a championship every year, or because Giannis is in the same conference as him. But this is a dude who beat Giannis to get to a championship. This is a team that's giving Giannis and the Bucks problems. And it's looking like we headed back to Giannis in Miami. Giannis and Jimmy Butler. This is what's so beautiful about sports. Sometimes you never expect certain things, certain players to step up and take the mantle. And here we have it. Before, when it was LeBron James running roughshod over the league and everybody was like, KD gonna be the dude who step up and take that mantle and beat him. But Steph Curry was the dude who stepped up and became that opposite of LeBron James. And now you look at Giannis Antetokounmpo over here in the East, and everybody's saying, oh, he running roughshod over the East. The dude that's going to step up and stop him is going to be Joel Embiid. And Jimmy Butler, the dude who done stepped up to be his opposite. It's so funny how these things work out. And so you take a culture, and Jimmy Butler, he couldn't have landed in a more beautiful situation, because his help developing these players on this team, Tyler Hero's confidence and swagger done got help built. That's because of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy had a lot to do with that. Bam Adebayo's development, a lot to do with Jimmy Butler being there. Jimmy Butler get these dudes confidence to be who they are because the Miami Heat organization have given confidence to Jimmy Butler to be who he is. That's why when they had that little blow up during the season, I knew that wasn't going to matter too much because I was like, man, that's just tempers flaring. They know they a great team. When you a great team and you lose like this and you hate losing, this is just shit that happened here and there. I knew they was going to get over this. And boom, look at it. They in the Eastern Conference Finals with a chance to go to the NBA Finals for the second time since Jimmy Butler has been here. Like, that's absolutely insane. If that's not a superstar, I don't know what is. I really don't. And this is the number one team in the Eastern Conference, so they would have home court advantage against Milwaukee. And I'm looking at how Boston, and now granted, Giannis has started to become, Giannis is the best player in the NBA to me, and he is showing why in this series. And listen, I'm not one of them people who care too much about shooting percentages, but Giannis is a dude who is a very efficient scorer because of the type of shots he get. Boston has made it tough for him to get those same looks, but he dominated down the stretch in most of these games. The thing about Miami, though, is these dudes is doing this without Kyle Lowry. I mean, they got different rookies, undrafted rookies starting at point. Bam Adebayo give up so much height to and weight to Joel Embiid. But look at this team, man. I'm telling you, Jimmy Butler is a fucking superstar. Jimmy Buckets is a superstar. And I just think Miami is man, this motherfucker gonna get a statue in Miami. If this man win a championship in Miami, this man is getting a statue in Miami. And to be completely honest with you, I haven't talked about Miami a lot throughout the playoffs. I'm gonna be talking about them a lot now. If Miami get to the finals and win it, and I can see them beating every single team left in the playoffs because I got some thoughts on Phoenix after last night. But no team in the playoffs right now looks unbeatable to me. No team in the playoffs looks unbeatable to me. But Miami and the Bucks, to me, right now, look like the best teams. Like, to me, whoever win the series and I'm not counting the Celtics out of the series yet, but I do think Milwaukee is going to win that series. I thought they was going to win that series before the series started. If they get out of that, and they go to take on Miami, I think whoever win that series could possibly win the NBA championship. Meaning that I done switched my pick from the Phoenix Suns, which I will tell you about more when we get into that. But Jimmy Butler's numbers throughout the playoffs: 28.7 a game, 7.6 rebounds a game, 5.4 assists a game, shooting 52.5% from the floor. That's insane. Like, Jimmy Butler is a fucking star. Shout out Big Face Coffee. That's clearly that might be what's got him acting like this. I mean, Jimmy Butler is Jimmy fucking Buckets is a star, bro. And I like dead ass people will talk about it. I think people is giving Harden and Embiid more talk than they is giving Miami and Jimmy Butler. It's crazy. I done rarely seen anybody, like, I saw Joy talk about it this morning, but she a Miami fan, so obviously she gonna give Jimmy his love. But I don't see too many other analysts talking about it. Like, every analyst talking about fucking Miami, Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid. Like, nobody is talking about Jimmy Butler. Like, and that's crazy to me. And this is exactly why people continue to underrate this man. Because for some reason, even when this man is winning and being great in the wins, something seems to supersede that for some reason. And it shouldn't be like that. Like, I understand focusing on Harden and Joel Embiid and Doc for some odd reason, but to not be giving Jimmy Butler any type of focus right now, or the biggest focus, Jimmy Butler should be the story coming into the night, him and Luka. Now, they'll talk about Luka, but for some reason they won't talk about Jimmy, and that's wild to me. Now, Luka also is beating a team that was the number one team rated in the West, but nonetheless, Jimmy Butler should be getting his credit. Because Jimmy Butler is a fucking superstar. Mind you, I don't think Luka is a superstar yet. Now, I told you, there's no such thing for me as, he pushing towards it. Like, nah, he get his team to a finals. He lead that. Because I kind of think the way Luka play could eventually kill them. But I like what they doing right now. I'm going to get into that later. But Jimmy Butler, I have to give Jimmy Butler as much fucking love as possible because this man is fucking balling. And to me, he is a superstar, bro. And I've been on that bandwagon of he a superstar since he led that team, the Heat, to the finals that year. But it just seemed like he just don't get the love and the credit. And now Miami, who was the number one seed, is moving on. Not only is the man the number one seed, he held it down in the playoffs, bro. No fucking Kyle Lowry through 2 series now. I mean, come on, man. And you can tell these dudes feed off of him. And I think it's very funny how, Miami, you don't see them talking about Jimmy Butler, culture problem, or, oh, Jimmy Butler, a bad teammate and shit like that. Even after the little incident that happened this year, you didn't see them coming out talking down on Jimmy and nothing like that. And it's also a shout out to Eric Spoelstra, who I done thought was a great head coach for a long time. He never got the credit he deserved in Miami, but I always been one of them people who's like, if a coach can take 3 stars like superstars like LeBron, Wade, and a star like Bosh, and contain all those egos and win with that, come on, man. That's not just players, bro. I understand players do the majority of the work. Obviously, big fucking players show. But come on, man. Eric Spoelstra was never given the credit he deserved. And then Jimmy Butler, he get Jimmy Butler, and now people seem to realize how great they give Spoelstra more credit than they give Jimmy. But shout out to Eric Spoelstra, because he is a fucking great head coach. Now, gotta talk about the team that they beat last night, because it was 99-90, but it wasn't that close. James Harden took 2 shots in the second half, and I saw the tweets, and I also think it is very funny, the irony in that Philadelphia traded a guy in Ben Simmons who wouldn't take the layup, the big shots in the fourth quarter, for a dude who is a all-time great scorer in a lot of people's eyes, but who turned out to also not just not take the big shots in the fourth quarter, to basically not take shots at all throughout the majority of the game in the second half, period. The man shot 2 times in the second half last night. James Harden's scoring number has been a problem. That's what he's known for. So the people who trying to say, oh, you can't go with James Harden for scoring, everybody say, that's literally why they brought him over here. That is literally what he is known for. Y'all not gonna get away with trying to say, oh, James Harden is a point guard. He assists and blah blah. No. You're not gonna keep doing that shit. James Harden played bad, and the fact that he's played bad in the playoffs religiously is not also gonna get him off the hook, because it's like, oh, well, we expected him to play bad. But you should not expect James Harden to play bad when he plays so good throughout the season. MVP candidate, finished in second for MVP running multiple years before winning it, but he can continue to have bad games and bad series and just be an overall bad player in the playoffs. I don't understand how that is not a problem and how that is not, because people continue to boost up James Harden for some reason, blind. Oh, best combination in Kobe and Shaq, and better score than Kobe, better than Shaq. Better than Dwayne Wade, and like so much goofy stuff. And this is one of my problems with the sports Twitter. A dude can go out there and score 40 fucking points in a meaningless game in the middle of the season when nobody's watching, against a team that's on a third of a back-to-back, and people go crazy. Oh, he better than Kobe Bryant. All right. Kobe Bryant, 5-time champion, multiple-time defensive first team, multiple-time All-NBA first team, MVP, Finals MVP, was clearly a leader and a culture setter for his team. Like, everything that would make a player great, y'all seem to not care about unless it's just scoring. That's all y'all seem to care about when you talk about how great players are. And Harden been getting away with this shit because he can put up a couple fucking points every year. And that's a problem. That is a fucking problem for me. Because I done had to listen to motherfuckers boost this motherfucker up for so. And it's a big player show, man. I'm not going at Harden. I'm going at the people who basically done boosted this motherfucker up for so many years. Oh, he better than Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade is a 3-time fucking champion who led a team to a championship, who was a key piece in a championships and key pieces in championship runs, was the best player on his team and a culture changer, a culture setter, an absolute leader. His leadership was never questioned. That is not Harden. Harden's just a great scorer. But for some fucking reason, it's okay for people to say this man is better than these type of legends, who are not just legends because they could score points. It's absolute lunacy to put James Harden in the same sentence as a Kobe Bryant, in my opinion, or a Dwayne Wade, or a Reggie Miller. but specifically a Kobe Bryant and a Dwayne Wade, really. Because to me, this man is nowhere near the greatness that those two were. Nowhere near. This man done played with Dwight Howard before Dwight Howard, became what he is now because of the back injuries. Couldn't work with that. He got him sent out of town. Cool. He get Chris Paul. Didn't like playing with Chris Paul. Got him sent out of town. Got Westbrook. Didn't like playing with Westbrook. Got him sent out of town. Had no interest in playing with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and those dudes. So he got out of shape and got sent out of town. He wanted to go play with KD and whatnot. He get to play with Kevin Durant. And I said it the other day. I don't give a fuck if Kyrie couldn't play. The fact that you and Kevin Durant, 2 MVPs, that should be enough. Kyrie should be a cherry on top. You two are greater than a Kyrie Irving. You shouldn't need Kyrie Irving. That should just make everything, that should just accentuate everything even more. That's not something that's a need. You know what I'm saying? It's like Shannon say, you and KD are the couches. Kyrie was simply a lamp that made everything look. And that's no shot at brother Kyrie, but it is what it is. So the fact that you couldn't think that you felt in your heart or in your soul that you couldn't get it done with Kevin Durant and that missing Kyrie was such a fucking problem, that's wild to me. So you quit on them, you get traded to Philly. And now you do this in Philly, and I'm hearing people say that, oh, he quit on Philly because he didn't want Doc Rivers. He want D'Antoni. This is lunacy. This whole little trio right here of James Harden, Mike D'Antoni, and Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey continuously lost with James Harden and Mike D'Antoni in Houston. Did not give a fuck. In his mind, it was everybody else. It wasn't D'Antoni and Harden. So what do? He go out of his way to trade for Harden and bring that same ridiculousness back. If these motherfuckers really bring D'Antoni in and fire Doc Rivers, well, you might as well go ahead and get prepared to trade Joel Embiid within the next 2 years, because D'Antoni don't like centers. Didn't like Paul Gasol, didn't like Dwight Howard, didn't like Clint Capella. Imagine he ain't gonna like fucking Joel Embiid. And don't tell me, oh, well, Joel Embiid greater than those dudes. Joel Embiid is not greater than Pau fucking Gasol. Miss me with that. Joel Embiid was not greater than Dwight Howard was at the time. And Joel Embiid is not greater than Dwight Howard. So miss me with that. At the points in time in which he had those centers were still great players. And he had no use for them. So why would he have use for a dude who was as injury prone as Dwight was at that time because of his back injuries? Who, mind you, Dwight played through those back injuries for D'Antoni. He just straight up I'm not even going to talk about how he just straight up disrespected Pau Gasol. Like, that's one of the biggest reasons I don't fuck with D'Antoni to this day, because of how he did Pau. So, why would he have any use for Joel? Like, that shit going to play out, because Joel Embiid's not going to become a dude who just cut into the basket and jump for lobs for James Harden. And if you turn this into the James Harden show, that's going to be even worse, because you got a young stud in Tyrese Maxey, who should be your biggest focus, in my opinion, at this moment, after the series because if you want to be honest, Tyrese Maxey was the best player for this team throughout the series, throughout the playoffs. He was their best player. I mean, it is what it is, because Joel Embiid just had 2 bad games. And I understand people going to give him excuses because all the injuries and shit like that. But this is the fact of the matter is, like Shannon say all the time, if you don't want to be criticized for that shit, don't put that shit on tape. If you are hurt, don't play. Because if you play and you put that shit on film and you put that on tape and people can come back and see that, it's all game. Point blank period. There's a lot of people who hurt that's playing in the NBA playoffs who play throughout the NFL and shit like that. You can't keep giving Joel Embiid this excuse. I keep telling you, man, the motherfucker hurt or sick every fucking year in the playoffs, bro. And that's the excuse I hear for him every fucking year on retainer. Go back, watch it. Every year. And not to mention, he threw James Harden under the bus by saying we didn't expect that James Harden was going to be the James Harden he wasn't. Bullshit, you did. And that's throwing it under the bus, because he could just, how about you just not talk about James Harden? How about when you talk about your players, find ways to deflect the question or just, not throw your players under the bus and shit. I realize that Joel Embiid is a terrible team leader. I've been saying that for the longest, but everybody wanted to put everything this franchise has been through over these years on Ben Simmons in that one moment They wanted to dumb it down to that's why they've never had success because of Ben Simmons in that one moment. But the fact of the matter is you got a star player on your team who is not a culture changer, who is not a superstar, who was bitching about not winning MVP, which is something that I understand him being mad about personally. Publicly, you should never be talking about not winning MVP. Come on, bro. That's ridiculous. And I understand LeBron done probably done that before. But that's ridiculous. And you ain't LeBron. I'll just be a hypocrite on that. You're not LeBron. There's levels to that. Not to mention, on a yearly basis, he either sick or hurt come playoff time. Like, to me, I don't know why Joel Embiid is held to such low standards, truly, but is held in such high regards regularly. Like, that's it's weird to me because I hear people call him a superstar all the time, best center in the league all the time. I hear people go at Jokic all the time. Jokic does not have nearly the talent on his team right now that Joel Embiid had. Jokic losing to the Warriors in the first round was nothing wrong with that. And I see people shitting on him. Joel Embiid continues to lose with better teams than Jokic. I don't understand this. And Jokic is for some reason constantly being shitted on because he won MVPs. And that's a season award. Now, like I said, I wouldn't have gave him MVP this year. I thought Giannis was the MVP personally. But that's just me. And even if Joel Embiid was the MVP of the season in some people's minds, that should be an even bigger problem that he couldn't duplicate that in the regular season. I mean, in the postseason. What is it worth you doing all this greatness in the regular season if you can't manage yourself to do this in the postseason? That is a problem. I saw somebody saying that Harden going to eventually get tired of trying to burn both ends of the candle with partying all the time in clubs and then trying to be a great NBA player. That was going to catch up to him eventually. Maybe that is what's happened. But I just think y'all been overhyping Harden for a long time. Because that been happened, really, because he constantly failing in the playoffs. But if for some reason, when the regular season roll around, he give you 40 fucking points or a 50-point night or some shit. Oh, man, this dude the best shooting guard all time. He could score better than Kobe. All right. But as much as Harden was a problem, like I said, Joel Embiid, bro, y'all don't hold this man to no type of standards, bro. Dead ass. You hold him to no type of standards. And this is why I was so bothered with the Ben Simmons thing. Do you think I would be happy that Ben Simmons wasn't willing to take those shots? Fuck no. But do you also realize how bad Joel Embiid was at the end of some of these fourth quarters in those series last year? How he was just a big ass blob running around, slouching around, just stroke. Like, the man was not running at full speed and giving full effort setting half-ass screens and shit. Like, come on. If he was in better condition, better shape, he could have been going hard in those fourth quarters, managing himself better throughout these games and throughout the season. Nobody said anything about that, though. Joel Embiid dealing with injuries and sicknesses all the time in the playoffs. Nobody says nothing about that. But for some reason, everybody went hard on Ben Simmons. And who was the first one there to be able to throw him under the bus? Joel Embiid, because this man is a chronic blame deflector. He is not willing to take accountability for anything. And I've been realized that. And that's not me taking a shot at Joel Embiid. That's just a fact. This man is a chronic blame deflector. And it wouldn't even be a problem if it wasn't for the fact he throwing his teammates under the bus. Threw Ben Simmons under the bus. Ben Simmons thinking to himself, bro, these supposed to be my boys. This supposed to be my guy. This like me and this dude, the leaders of the team, and he threw me under the bus like that. And I don't care how you look at it. Oh, Ben soft and blah, blah, blah. Well, let's see how Harden feel about Embiid throwing him under the bus. Now, the difference between Harden and Ben Simmons is Harden done been forced his way out of his last three situations. So if he try to force his last two situations, if he try to force his way out of this situation also, that's going to look real bad on him. The only way out of this for Philadelphia, to be completely honest with you, because like I said, at this point in time, they needed to be focused on developing Tyrese Maxey, a dude who can stay healthy and give you, that to me, that should be your focus. Because Joel Embiid need to become your second best player. You're not winning a championship while he is the best player on the team. I've been saying that for about 4 to 5 years at this point. because Joel Embiid can't stay healthy, and it's so many reasons as to why. Like I said about how Harden. Now I don't see nobody trying to say Embiid is on Shaq's level and this shit, so I won't go that hard on him. But like I said, Embiid is not held to the standards that y'all held most superstars or stars to, because y'all call everybody a fucking superstar nowadays. But he ain't held to them standards. Yet time and time again. Like, fuck, Giannis was hurt last year in the finals and he still dominated. Like, bro. And Giannis is not playing on a team full of superstars or stars. Now, he do got a star on his team in Drew Holiday. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. After my praise of him yesterday, that man ball out tonight, bro. It's going to be real. It's going to be hard for me not to call the motherfucker a superstar. Now, I know he's not a superstar, but Drew Holiday is so fucking great, bro. Like, great. Like, Drew Holiday is a fucking menace, dog. Drew Holiday is that dude. But when I look at the fact that Giannis ain't got a Kevin Durant walking around on his team, a Steph Curry, Klay Thompson walking around on his team, he don't have a Kyrie walking around on his team, a James Harden and Joel Embiid walking around on his team. That man got Brook Lopez out there looking like a monster. Respectfully, I love Brook. But come on, that man ain't got Chris Middleton, who people constantly disrespect. And to be quite frank, Chris Middleton is wishy-washy in the playoffs here and there. Done hit some big buckets in the playoffs. Done been very wishy-washy. He don't got a Paul George standing beside him, a Kawhi Leonard standing beside him. Even though I think Drew Holiday is better than Paul. But I'm just saying, like, what's up? When y'all gonna hold this motherfucker Joel Embiid accountable, man? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This is ridiculous to me at this point. Like, the man keep coming up short. He gonna throw somebody under the bus. Y'all gonna blame other people. Let him off the hook. Come back next year. They'll probably fire Doc Rivers, which would be insane to me. If Houston want to get out, if the 76ers, how they salvage this situation is, you need to go ahead and tell James Harden, yeah, we're not giving you a max contract, buddy. It's no fucking way we're giving you a max contract. On top of that, if he opt in, fuck it, you gotta deal with that. But that's just one more year. If he opt out and try to sign somewhere else, you gotta let that happen, because what I would really honestly try to do is sign and trade this motherfucker, even though I don't know what you would get for him. What you need to be doing is bringing in shooters, defenders, to build around Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. That's what you should be trying to do at this point. You clearly have two dudes who are great players. Joel Embiid is considered a star. Tyrese Maxey is, to me, a budding star. That's who you should be building around. You should have never traded away all you traded away to get rid of Ben Simmons. But what's done is done. But they're going to have to figure some shit out, because, boy. Now, let's get to Phoenix, bro. A series that really been irritating because of the officiating in this series. But, boy. So, obviously, Chris Paul, that's my guy. Rough last 4 games for Chris Paul, averaging 9 points and I think 6 or 5 turnovers. In his last 2 or 3 games, he had 18 turnovers. Devin Booker had 8 turnovers last night, or 6 or 7 turnovers last night. Chris Paul had 5. Yeah, and they were down by like 20 points for the majority of this game. They never was in this game at all. This has been a weird series because you done got so many good games from Jay Crowder in this series specifically. Now, you haven't really got much for Cam Johnson. You haven't really gotten much from Mikal Bridges. DeAndre Ayton done gave you something. DeAndre Ayton done giving you multiple good games in this series. So, shout out to Dallas and their defense on Chris Paul and how that referees is letting them play Chris Paul. I do think they've been letting them get away with some fouling on Chris Paul, and some of the fouling they done let them get away with is to force some of the turnovers that Chris Paul done had. I think that's very clear to see. But, hey, if they going to let you do it, shout out. They ain't going away from it. It'd be different if the referees was letting them do that and they wasn't doing it. And you know what I'm saying? They stopped doing it and they went away from it. But it's working. They hounding Chris Paul up the court. They won't let him set up the offense and shit. And that's one of the problems I'm seeing from Phoenix last night. And seeing how it's so hard for this team to stop Luka. I'm realizing as good as Phoenix is defensively, and it's weird that they done been basically terrible in this series defensively against Luka and this team shooting three. Like, the Mavericks is just jacking threes left and right on them. One of the biggest problems I'm realizing from Phoenix is they don't have individual great defenders. Mikal Bridges is a good individual defender, and even he kind of getting exposed a little bit in this series. But this team don't have no, and obviously Chris Paul done been a great defender for the majority of his career, but right now he even struggling against Luka and them boys. But they don't really have great individual defenders because Cam Johnson is not really a great individual defender. DeAndre Ayton is not a good defender. And the Dallas Mavericks are taking, complete advantage of that. Now, mind you, none of these teams done won on the road yet. So naturally, I would think that, Phoenix would be able to close this series out at home. And Devin Booker averaged like 27 points at home this year in the playoffs. But boy, you never know with Luka, because you want to know what's wild about Luka? Luka can shoot the ball so bad, like percentage-wise, and still make such an impact on the game. That's why I don't care about shooting percentages. Those shits do not matter, bro. You can miss a shit ton of shots early when the game is still close and shit that don't matter. And you can catch fire late, and all those buckets you missed in the beginning of the game was pointless anyways. Because in the grand scheme of things, they did not matter. Because you hit the shots that mattered. And to me, Luka hitting these big shots along with, I didn't know how to feel when Jason Kidd and everybody was trying to call out all the other players on Dallas, like, oh, the others need to step up. I'm like, yo, that's some real hoe shit that when this team loses, it completely just immediately go to, oh, everybody else need to step up. Like, motherfucker, how is this team playing that? They've been playing like this all year, bro. How you gonna say, oh, this team needs to step up when this how these motherfuckers been playing all year? Yeah, obviously we want these dudes to step up, but Luka got to fix the way he play. And when these dudes do step up, Luka got to play some defense. Now, the Mavs done made great adjustments in this series. And shout out to Jason Kidd, who to me is a great head coach. Never got the respect he deserved or credit he deserved for how he developed Giannis. Like, people for some reason love to give Mark Jackson a shit ton of credit. I think it's just people be hating on Steve Kerr, to be honest with you, because people always give Mark Jackson the credit for the Warriors, even though I give him none of that credit aside from the defensive prowess he gave that team in drafting Draymond. Because Mark Jackson did not draft Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, I don't think. And maybe he did draft Klay. I got to go check on that. But I know he drafted Dre. But Mark Jackson's offense was nowhere near. It's night and day compared to what this team's offense is now under Steve Kerr. And to say that, yeah, I give him credit for how he got the defense up to par and how he, instilled that defensive culture in them. But to say just because he was great for them defensively and whatnot is how they translated. Oh, come on, bro. Like, if you're going to give him credit for defense, that's cool. And give him credit for some other things, that's cool. But to give him all the credit for the Warriors right now, to me, that's fucking insane how people be doing that shit to Steve Kerr. I really think that's that hating ass shit. But Jason Kidd, bro, he never get credit for his helping Giannis develop. And Giannis done gave him credit before. He never get credit for how good he had that team. Like, bro, Jason Kidd legitimately is what started the Milwaukee resurgence when they hired him as a coach, bro. And didn't he get fucking Brooklyn to the playoffs when they had those KG and Paul Pierce and them boys? Like, and I thought he was the one who was going to get hired on as the head coach of the Lakers, and they didn't do it. He get hired on to the Mavericks, and boom, what do you know? The Mavericks are a great team. Jason Kidd, bro. Great point guard, Hall of Fame point guard, possibly a Hall of Fame coach one day. This motherfucker got the fucking Dallas Mavericks going to a Game 7 against the motherfucking Phoenix Suns, man. That man said, you give me a superstar and you give me dudes who want to work and who want to win, who want to compete, and I get you there. I respect that, man. And shout out Luka, bro. Because as much as I don't like the flopping and the even though flopping to me is not really as bad as what it was with Harden. And I understand Luka and Chris Paul flopping it, but you just got to accept that's a part of the game at this point. If the bozo referees keep letting them get away with it, it is what it is. So I'm not one of the people who really complain about that shit. My thing with Luka is he do complain to the refs a lot, and that's me. I don't care that he complains to the refs. I be having as much a problem with the refs as him. But I'm not going to get teed up for having a problem with the refs. Luka, you going to get teed up for having a problem with the refs, my boy. So that's my only problem with Luka at times, is that you put yourself in an ugly situation, my boy. It's like he completely forget that they need me. You know what I'm saying? So aside from that, though, Luka that boy. Luka that guy. And to see how he competed every year in the playoffs against teams that's clearly better than his team, wow. Luka is definitely, I said it ain't possible to be pushing it, but had to pause right there because something was brought to me. You know what I'm saying? So, just a minor little interruption right there. Had to go pick something up. Pick something up. But anyways, Jason Kidd, what a fucking coach. And Luka Doncic, man, what a fucking guy, bro. What a player. This dude is pushing superstar. I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, this motherfucker Luka is the truth. If they get if Luka win games, if these motherfuckers win game 7, if these motherfuckers, like, you gotta understand, when Luka and these boys won one game in this series, I was shocked because I thought Phoenix was so much better than this team. And then when they won 2 games in this series, I was like, the fuck? Yeah, I was like, the referees, man. Then they won again last night, and they dominated. And I was like, is Phoenix the team that I think they is? And what I'm realizing is, Luka Doncic is the best player in this series, and Phoenix can be had by a better player. And so, I already thought that Phoenix could be, I thought they was going to win the championship this year just because how great the team was offensively and defensively, even though I'm questioning that now. Obviously, I didn't change my pick. But I always thought that a superstar level player like a Giannis Antetokounmpo could be so great, along with his team playing good and great, that they could beat Phoenix. And that's just continuing to prove more because of what Luka is doing. So now I'm concerned because let's say the Warriors get past the Grizzlies, right? And let's say Steph Curry start to play like Steph Curry. Let's say Steph Curry against Phoenix start to have a series in which he plays like the second best player of his generation behind LeBron James. And he wake up and start playing like Steph fucking Curry. I would take, and everybody else on his team come along for the ride and play great. Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Draymond, and all those dudes play good too. I'm taking Golden State in that series because of what I've seen from Phoenix now. And let's say Phoenix get past that series. Well, then I'm questioning if I would take them against Milwaukee. Because if Milwaukee play great and Giannis play to the level he already done proven if he played to his max that he can beat him in the finals. Well, see, now I'm concerned. Because now I'm realizing the way you beat Phoenix is stopping Chris Paul. If you stop Chris Paul and stop the way he can set up the offense and the way he get this team going, how he can be the dude who get them out of droughts, how he can get the offense going, how he can get them restarted and shit like that. Well, then you basically turn it into hero ball by Devin Booker and a lot of bad shots going up and a lot of the others not getting as wide open shots as they would usually be taking, trying to take shots off the dribble. Then you got to rely on DeAndre Ayton being great at all times. And while DeAndre Ayton has been good in this series, him being the best player on Phoenix in this series is not good for Phoenix. And so, I am a bit concerned for the Phoenix Suns because after last night, I still don't think Dallas will win this series. But I no longer think that Phoenix is the unquestioned NBA championship team this year because Golden State, if Steph Curry play to Steph Curry's levels, can beat him. Giannis Antetokounmpo playing to Giannis Antetokounmpo levels can beat him. All because they have great teams around them. If Luka Doncic can have a game in his life in Phoenix and the others step up and hit the same shots they've been hitting in this series. Now, obviously, I don't think they'll hit him at the clip they be hitting them at in Dallas. But, hey, I wouldn't be shocked at this point. It's been a wild fucking series for Phoenix, man. It's been a wild one. And they need somebody to step up. But I don't think, even though I do look at Chris Paul as a superstar, he old, man. Chris Paul, not old in the sense like, oh, he an old man. But Chris Paul in NBA age is an older dude now, bro. He can't do what he, was doing in his prime and just a couple years ago. He need Devin Booker and them and Ayton to step up. You know, Chris Paul is a superstar. He is a thing to get everything going. But if they gonna keep doing what they doing to defend Chris Paul, well, that's gonna be a problem because Devin Booker seems to need Chris Paul to be great in order for him to be great and for it to matter. For DeAndre Ayton needs Chris Paul to be great. Most centers need Chris Paul to be great when they on his team. So, hey, I'm not doubting Phoenix right now as far as beating this team, but whew, boy, it's going to be interesting. But with that, I do appreciate you for joining me in another episode of Kicking It with Saint. I fuck with you, man. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. Kiss my dukes on the head. Why? Saint out.
Hey, right out. Got my niggas in the bag blowing white out. We gon' pump this shit real deep into the night out. Keep it 199, just ain't my style. Sing the time, staring out the window of the night route. They never ever understood for the most part. Hey, wonder how them niggas treated Mozart. Hey, did they try to put him on the Zoloft? Oh nah, I was penalized for being too alive. 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 I was